Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Connected Live. Thank you for joining me on here again, and thank you for spreading the word. For many who know my work, they know I am a holistic healer. I've been working for 20 years, and I've been successfully helping people and animals through all kinds of health and emotional challenges. Many know that I also work with business people as well on business challenges, whether it's mergers and acquisitions or legal issues. But today, the topic I'm going to talk about is meeting your animal where they're at. I have 4, 5. It took me a minute there. I have 3 horses and 2 dogs. And all of them are boys, but they're all very different personalities. And especially with the horses, it gets really interesting. I'll ride 3 in one day, and I have to adjust myself for each horse. You can't just get on and ride and treat each horse the same. You have to adjust for their personality, for who they are as an individual. And you have to adjust for the type of day they're having, because like us, they have good days, they have bad days. And then you have to see what the conditions of the ride are going to be and then adjust the whole thing. And that's hard for most people because, and me too, by the way, I'm not going to say just for most people, but it's hard for any of us because, we get to wherever we're going to work with an animal and we have an agenda. We have an agenda about what we feel we need to do today in order to accomplish the goals working with particular animal, including dogs. Because I have 2 working dogs. I have 2 large German Shepherds. We know we have Baldur, who's an East German dog. And then we rescued Thor from a shelter in Texas. He'd been returned twice. And he's such a lovely personality that the only thing I can figure is that he was returned because he was a German Shepherd. And this is what happens to a lot of people. They go in with an expectation about a horse they're getting, whether it's they're purchasing or they're rescuing, or dog or whatever animal it is that they go. They have their expectations, what they feel they're going to be getting. They set things up in their mind. I've coached so many clients to watch expectations. Expectations can actually lead to a lot of unhappiness and actually misery. You kind of have to release expectations with everything. I mean, you can have your goals, you can have your mission and purpose, but how you get to said goals and mission and purpose is going to be a whole nother ballgame. You have to release expectations about the way. And that includes when you are working on training. It's funny, when a lot of people ask me about training work, I then switch the word to education. The other day, again, I was out in the field and I was being swarmed by horses, and my 2 boys were kind of staring at me, and I had wormer in my hands, and it was a very muddy day, so there was clay and it was slippery, and I had my muck boots on, but you can't put anything down. And then I had about 20 horses swarming me because they thought I had food and it was just wormer. And I looked at my 2 young horses, and I particularly William. And William excels at personal protection and my personal space. It's like the young ones actually truly understand that the other horses don't have the same education that they do. The other horses really don't respect the boundaries and how fragile a human can be. So they'll swarm you, they start kicking and striking at each other. Inevitably, a human will get hit. And it's not the same as a horse getting hit. So my boys, I've raised them from very young horses, they're only 4 now, to understand that I'm breakable, especially around 500-600,000 pound animals. So William looks at me and gives me a long stare, and I kind of look at him, starting to feel my cheese slip off my cracker because I'm starting to lose it because I'm getting so frustrated with the other horses. And they weren't listening to me. The horses just had food on the mind. And I looked at William and I said, well, do your job, clear the path. And he got like a dog growl face. Ears went back, and he literally cleared of, about 5 to 10 feet in a circle around me, and cleared all the horses out, and then turned around and stared at me and said, is that what you needed? And I looked at him and I said, yeah. And somebody happened to see that in the field and said, how do you train your horses to act like dogs? And it's not, I really don't feel it's training. It's because training has such a negative connotation now in my mind. Trainers want to train every horse the same. Trainers want to train every child the same in school, institutionalized. And there's just no room for the individual, right? You know, you're trying to teach a lot of kids at once, or you're trying to teach a lot of animals at once. And whether it's the human limitation of liking habits, or you're having to train a lot in mass, so you don't want to deal with the individual, it's really not the most effective way of educating. That's why I switched the word to education. So I've really focused a lot on my horses with their education. So meeting them where they're at, it's interesting. I'll talk about a client's horse. Everybody has their expectations, which I talked about before when having a horse. And the expectation of, well, I'm buying a hunter jumper, or I like to ride dressage, or I ride Western, or I do barrels, or I do whatever. Yeah, you can buy for breeding. You can test the horse. But you just don't know what the horse is going to end up liking. Like, I have a client who has a very, very talented horse. And the horse can do Western, and the horse can do hunter jumper, and they can do dressage. And as I worked with the horse and this client, it literally became really apparent what the horse liked and what the horse didn't. The funny part was the horse excelled at one discipline, like really excelled, like brilliantly, like winning, you know, getting ribbons and placing. But the horse hated it. And then the horse would do it for a little bit because, you know, felt he had to, trying to please, and then have these massive acting up periods, which were basically just anxiety because, you know. And it was interesting because I look at my own life, and I was in business. I went to law school. I'm really good at all that stuff. I'm really good at business. I'm really good at law school. I was really good at law. People were like, it's a waste for you to become a healer. It's a waste for you to stop being in corporate. It's a waste for you not to be a lawyer. You're so talented. I'm good at all those things, but I'm not happy doing it. And within me, it caused a lot of anxiety. It caused illness. And so within the context of a horse, this is what was happening to my client's horse. And my client got to the point where they were like, you know what, you're right. I'm just going to do this other discipline, and the horse is happy and I'm happy, and that's really all I want to do. And that horse has been a different horse since that adjustment was made. Now the horse is focused on the discipline that they enjoy and they excel at, and that the owner enjoys and excels at. And it's kind of just releasing expectation of what you're supposed to be doing. And I have other people that do the same thing to horses. And they do it to dogs too, all animals and people. Like I said, it was done to me. We really need to look at what we all excel at, whether it's human or other species, and meet the individual where they're at. And if we would do that more, we would do so well with our animal companions. We would do better in life with ourselves. I mean, who could have said that leaving corporate, I would be doing as well as I am today in my job as a holistic healer? And I mean, it literally is a job that I created for myself, and I've excelled at helping people to the point where I work 7 days a week pretty much with no vacation, and I don't mind because it's not a job. It is my mission and purpose. I thrive on it. Same thing with my dogs. My dogs each have very specific things that they're good at, and I focus on those things that they enjoy and that they're good at. I had so many people when I rescued Arrow say, oh, well, you're living in the Northeast now. You have to ride English and you have to collect him. And 25-year-old rescue? Yes, he has Spanish blood in him. Yes, he should be able to do all those things. And for giggles, I tried it with him. His level of anxiety went through the roof, and his level of unhappiness went through the roof. And I thought to myself, this is no way for an individual to spend their senior years. I said, I'm going to stop fighting him. And if he wants to be a stargazer and have his head all the way up because he's a Mustang and no one taught him to collect, and I'm not going to do it to him at 25, whether its proper form on a horse or not. He's balanced, he's happy, he's having a great time just being ridden bareback and Western, and on occasion for a hunter pace I would put an English saddle on him, but I would just let him be him. I wouldn't try to collect him. And so I have a lot of folks, I have another individual with rescue and said the horse obviously excels at one discipline, yet the individual likes another discipline. They find it's beautiful, whatever, it's their preferred discipline. But they rescued a horse that is not in that discipline. And I've tried so many times to say, I think you're going to have to make some changes, and maybe this is part of your path in life to make these changes as an equestrian to fit this horse if you're going to keep them. And so that's still up in the air right now, but the resistance, because this is the way this person wants to ride, yet they rescued a horse on the polar opposite scale of being an equestrian, I really found interesting. So if you want to have more peace with your animals, meet them where they're at. Second, release expectations and really just be open to the possibilities of what you're supposed to learn with that animal companion. And third, really look for what an individual excels at is really important. But what an individual excels at and fills them with joy is truly the key to any individual's happiness, whether it's a human or another species. We do it to humans, so therefore we do it to other species. We look at what an individual is bred for. Lawyers come from lawyers, business people come from business people. That's what happened to me. Horses, thoroughbreds, bred for racing. Well, it must be a racehorse. Oy vey. A lot of us know that that's not the truth. Or, it was bred for barrel racing. It should want to run barrels. No, not always. So if we would just be open to what our children are not only talented at, but also what brings them absolute joy, and we help them find that. And we do the same thing for the animals in our lives. Think about what a happier world it would be. Think about what offices would be like. Truly happy people going to work. Truly happy, rested, engaged, passionate people. Not just people, picking up money, doing a job. That's just, it's indentured servitude is what it is. And nobody should live that way. Everybody should live with more joy in their life. I'm not saying I don't have challenges in my career. I'm not saying I don't have challenges with the path that I've chosen, but I am more peaceful than not in what I've chosen. And I succeed. I am successful, not just financially, but also the numbers of people and animals I've helped. The numbers are just the messages I get. If we could all participate in that, we would all do so much better. So that's my message for this Connected Live. Part of being connected is really finding not only what you're talented at, but also what fills your soul with joy and doing that. And yes, it's possible to not find it when you're younger. Maybe your parents weren't able, weren't programmed to help you in that way. Certainly mine weren't. I found my career very, very late in life, but I still made it happen. It doesn't matter what age you are, you can always still find your mission and purpose. Be open to the possibilities. Yes, there will be sacrifices for a transition. There always is, but those sacrifices become really worth it because of the joy you have. And then allow your animal companions the same thing. Allow them to have that joy. That's part of the dialogue with us making this mini documentary about Arrow. He was a horse. Yes, I purchased him, but I really don't like the idea of purchasing animals, by the way, but he's also part of the family, and he asked me to come home, and I literally moved to another state where I didn't know that many people. I have no roots, no background, no nothing. I'm from the Northeast, for God's sakes, and I'm in Oklahoma. And yeah, you need a passport to be down here. Totally different from the Northeast, but really nice, but totally different. I moved here because Arrow wanted to come home. That's what he asked for. How could I say no? How could I say no to a horse that had been through what he'd been through? So, yeah, I moved. And people think I'm nuts sometimes, but because I was open to the possibilities and took a massive risk, my life is really full. I rescued 2 other horses. I rescued a dog I would have never rescued, meaning Thor. And my life is really an interesting place right now. So I advise you to take a look at what I've talked about today. Find ways that you can make some changes in your life and look for that of your animal companion. If you need help with it, find me at healertv.com, HEALERTV.com, and book a session with me, book an appointment with me. I help people get on track all the time with both themselves and their animal companions. Oh yeah, and their kids too. All right, talk to you all soon. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and thank you for joining me here on Connected Live. Bye-bye.